Hi friend, Megan here. It has been a while since I have done any bodywork videos, and I love bodywork. I love sharing bodywork because for me it's about not having people be in pain. I have shared a bit about how I was in so much pain for years, and I always thought that I had to, have a yoga practice or go get massages really often, but I know that life kind of gets in the way, and it can be kind of hard to get to the gym and have all your gear or pay the money for massages. So it is really important to me to share this stuff because what I realized is that I could take a lot more responsibility for my own body and give myself the care and find out ways to do it that didn't have any, what they call in corporate is like barrier to entry, things that make it more difficult to actually get there and do something. So what I found is you can do it at home with very little gear, no gear, just using your own body weight and wearing whatever you want with nobody watching. So I do want to share more of them. Figuring out my microphone issue and how and when to shoot them is still an issue. So thanks for being patient and checking this out. I also do have this little microphone. I have a Yeti that has great sound, but seems to not be working with my new update. So thanks for bearing with me. All right, let's get into it. Today we're going to be working on thumbs. It is something that people don't really think about until they hurt, but they are really, really important. The symbolic stuff is that they represent our thoughts being in our head too much. Hands in general are giving and receiving, creating, nurturing, and letting go. So I think that they're really important. Also the exit points for so much energy. That's why they sweat so much, just toxins, so many toxins and blockages kind of come through the hands from the shoulders, from the heart, and a lot of places that people have blocked up. So I think it's so important to release your hands. All right, so the exercises are going to begin, not exercises, stretches and movement, and I'll link that below so you can just get right to it. The first thing I do is that I warm up my hands, rub them together, get some heat in there. Take a moment to breathe, let your body relax, let your face relax, and breathe again. All right, so the first easy one is to push it back. I'm actually going to remove, this is actually a good point. If you've got things around your wrist that cut off circulation, things don't exit as much. So take things off your wrist. So you are maybe not going to have this much flexibility. That's okay. It's not about comparison. It's just about feeling that pull. So wherever you're at, wherever you feel a pull, that's okay. We do have an enormous amount of flexibility that we can gain, and a lot of times flexibility also represents being flexible in our life. So if you tend to be inflexible with life as it comes, needing to have it your way, it can show up in our body by being inflexible. So the more flexible we can be with life, the more our body will actually show that by being relaxed. All right, so we're going to stretch them, and we're going to stretch them a little bit. So at the beginning, when it's not super warmed up, don't push it too hard. All right, the next one we're going to do is right at this knuckle, we're going to squeeze down, and we're going to pull out, and we're going to push back. So squeeze, pull out, push back, squeeze, pull out, push back. And I'm really just getting right in that knuckle region, right along that line. Squeeze and push back, pull and back. Squeeze, pull, and back. So you can do this anytime. You can do this while you're on the toilet. If you feel like you don't have any time at all, you can find time to do this. Squeeze and push back. Squeeze and push back. So a lot gets blocked up right in that knuckle joint. So the reason thumbs are important, I forgot to mention this, is that you can keep squeezing, pushing back, and pulling out as I chat. That what I noticed doing body work is that for years, people had really locked up forearms and pointer fingers. And it was from computers, typing, and from clicking the mouse. But now, with smartphones and mobile, that people's thumbs are so locked up. And I think it's kind of funny and symbolic that being in our head and being on our phone are kind of connected. So squeeze and pull back. And you can really get in there with that knuckle and push. You can actually hear it grind a little bit. So I say this a lot, but things tend to start almost like hard as a rock, and then you'll feel a little bit of movement, and then it gets a little grainy, and then you hear it click. So now we're going to stretch them again. Stretch them back. Stretch them back. Good. And shake out those hands. The other one that I do is I put my thumb inside of my hands, and I turn. So that one's going to get the wrist area right here. That also gets locked up. You can do it both ways. And then another way to do it is to actually reach your arm out and do it and stretch the whole way through the forearm and the wrist. So let's do it on the other side. A little I Ching tattoo. And we're going to stretch them again. The next part we're going to do is this thumb pad. I'm going to squeeze in there, right on the heavy part. And we're going to squeeze in the other side a few times. So when I'm squeezing, I'm using my knuckle and my thumb on the other side. And I'm kind of pinching it and pulling out. I'm just going to get that pad from grabbing things. Then the other one that we can do is along this ridge. And you push right along the ridge. So not the fleshy part, but just along the side. And then I hit this point right here in my wrist where the thumb connects to the wrist. And I actually kind of rock it back and forth. So I'm squeezing down and I'm rocking it back and forth. You can hear some cracks maybe. So again, this ridge right along here. So you can do it on that side. And then right into that little crook and pull back and rock it back and forth. And you can also rub little circles. But sometimes I do a lot of little tiny things. So if you can just focus on one, that's okay. It's a funny thing, becoming aware of all of the tiny little articulations and all the tiny little movements. I don't even realize how much I do until I break it down. I'm like, wow, I'm not just pushing, I'm kind of pulling out and pushing back. Lots of little articulations. So squeeze that wrist. Let's put our thumbs back in. Roll them. You might hear some cracks and pops. Great. That's releasing some of the lactic acid buildup in the joints and the gases. Very Fosse, if you know dance history. All right. Then we're going to pray and push up. Pray and push up. So that's going to get through here. And I usually squeeze here too. Just straight down and pull back. Push down right where the wrist line is, right where those little bands are on the wrist, where the hand meets the arm, and pull back. So there's another one that I can show you that's a little trickier, but it's basically using body weight. I don't know if I can show you actually. Where I put right in the pad of the hand, I put my elbow right in the pad of the hand, and I lean it down and I roll it into that pad of my hand. So if you want a really deep massage through this area, because that one gets so locked up, you can just push down on the pad and in through the whole hand actually. And roll little circles. Little circles. It's really, really subtle. And then other side. Let's just give our body a little love. Just our thumbs. So many tiny places we can work out, but I do know that people have some issues with their thumbs. So then I roll them around in circles. You can do one at a time if you can't do it. So I'm rolling it in a circle, and then I'm clicking it down. Rolling it in a circle, clicking it down. And so you can actually feel your thumb crack sometimes. Then we're gonna pull again. So I go back and forth through these motions a couple different times. And you'll find that each time you touch it, it gets a little bit looser and releases a little bit more. So it's not always linear, it kind of goes around and around. All right, next, we're gonna squeeze on the tip of the thumb. So I'm squeezing top to bottom and I'm squeezing sides, and you can roll it back and forth too. Surprising how much that can hurt. So we're gonna do that the whole way down now. Okay, other side, squeeze the thumb tip. And then along the joint and under the joint. So again, I pulled it back and then I cracked them. And crack them. All right, guys, that was just a quick little thumb thing. I think it's at the end of the day about 8 minutes. But as you can see, just those few little exercises can open up this whole area. And in body work, like I said, they're symbolic for the thoughts and the action and the being in the head and the not being able to let go. So I hope that will give your thumbs a little bit of release. If your hands are hurting, I do have a hand video that works through all of the fingers, and by all means, feel free to stretch those out since you're working on your hands. But that's, I think, enough for today, and hopefully I'll be adding some more soon. Thanks so much for spending time with me and spending time caring for your body, and I hope it releases pain and gives you some relief. All right, love from Peru. I'll see you soon.